is Grandpa Ron with a new travel video. Yeah, seems like on every trip something unusual happens that I didn't expect. Well, on our last trip to Florida, yeah, I was awakened by a chirping over my head. Yeah, it was 2:30 in the morning. What the heck? Why do these things always have to die when you're trying to get some sleep? So I got up, put my phone light on, took a look at it, and it said, replaced by April 2022. I said, oh dang, this is not going to be good. Anyway, I tried changing the battery, but it still kept chirping, so I had to leave the battery off until I got home. I couldn't find the exact same model, so yeah, I got this cheaper one on Amazon, but the good news is it lasts for 10 years instead of just 5. Headed out on St. Patrick's Day with our new 400 amp hour lithium battery with almost unlimited AC power. I knew this trip would be a little different. Sure enough, my wife fell in love with those frozen vegetable bags that you can stick in the microwave for like 6 or 7 minutes. Yeah, we bought a lot of those. On this trip, we stopped at 5 national and state parks, 1 RV campground, a couple of Harvest Host locations, families' driveways, and when we were traveling long distances between, we would stop at Walmarts, some travel centers, and even a casino. Our first real stop was the Guadalupe Mountains in northwestern Texas. Yeah, it's a national park up there, and I wanted to go check out the sand dunes. Unfortunately, I didn't realize you had to drive 8 miles through this dirt road to get to the sand dune area. Yeah, the road was mostly wavy washboard and a few little rock formations. We had to go real slow. The RV did fine, no real problems with it, just got a little bit dusty and dirty. It's out in nowhere land. Yeah, I got a lot of sand in my shoes, but dang, there's no place to sit down. The dunes are okay, but I actually like the white sands of New Mexico better. But that was okay. We headed back, went over to the visitor center, got our national park book stamp, and then headed off to Fort Stockton. We're in Fort Stockton, Texas today. Yeah, I'm going to be staying here overnight. Real windy, about 30-mile-an-hour wind. Yeah, maybe a little bit of rain tomorrow. So anyway, we'll see. This has to be one of the most boring places in the country that you'll have to stop at. We usually stop for the night at the Walmart and resupply. They have a gas station there, and it's the cheapest fuel in town. From there, we went to Sea Rim State Park in Texas. Yeah, it's a little like bird watching type place, and it's got 15 RV sites, and you can also camp on the beach if you want to. It's a quiet place. Occasionally you might see an alligator, but for sure a lot of birds. The sand is hard packed, so it's easy to drive your RV on it, and the sand doesn't get blown around by the wind very much. Speaking of wind, that's really the only saving grace there, because mosquito season runs from January through December. Yeah, those little pesky buggers. But when the wind's blowing fine, it's you don't usually trouble you too much. But we did get a bunch inside the RV, so we had to make use of our fly swatter. Make sure you bring one if you do visit there. After a couple of days, we hit the road for New Orleans. NOLA, as they say. It's a very interesting town. A lot of culture there and history, and they had good food also. We visited some friends there. Yeah, New Orleans is not a very RV-friendly type town. There's a lot of one-way streets, and they're kind of narrow. But we did find a parking lot that we could park in. It was actually owned by Walmart, but it's across the street, so nobody ever parks there. So it was nice. We stayed a couple of nights there, and it was only a couple of miles from downtown. So speaking of downtown, we picked up a bus pass. It was like 80 cents for seniors, and we were able to take the bus 2 miles into town. Went up to the Mississippi River, walked all around through Jackson Square and stuff, and the price of the bus ticket also included a ferry. So we took the ferry across the Mississippi. Yeah, that's a big river and it's flowing pretty fast. Anyway, while we were on the ferry, we did meet a couple. They said, yeah, they always park their RV on the other side of the river and they just take the ferry over because it's a lot easier to park there and you don't have to drive through town. Anyway, we managed okay. I only went the wrong way on one of the one-way streets. After that, we headed to Florida. Yeah, we visited about a week with some family members.
Are you hungry?
See him keep dripping and he's drooling.
Well, I was hoping I'd see one of these.
Then we headed north to Crystal River. Say that you can actually swim with the manatees, but yeah, we didn't do that. We stayed at a harvest host called Rivers Adventure, and they offer boat rides, so they can take you out and you can jump in the water and that kind of stuff. But we were fine, just watching them from the shore. Yeah, at the end of March and early April, there's not too many left. As the weather warms up, they kind of move around and move north or whatever. But we did see a cow and her calf that swam by under the dock. So that was pretty cool. Next stop was Fort Pickens. Yeah, that's in the Florida Panhandle. It's a national campground and we almost always stay there. This is a very busy park, so you have to make your reservations online ahead of time. As a matter of fact, I couldn't get any when we were going out, but coming back, it was far enough in the future that I was able to snag a spot for 2 nights. Yeah, it's a very interesting place. I love exploring the forts. Out for a little ride on the bike path? Ooh. All right, cool.
We don't wanna grow up. We just wanna be young. Play and make believe. Come and rescue me. Feel the sun on my skin and scream. We don't wanna grow up. We just wanna have fun. Wild and free, baby, we can dream farther than our eyes.
The beaches are nice. They're bigger, wider, and cleaner than Texas, so yes. From there we headed to Louisiana Bayou country. Yes, we stopped at the Davis Bayou campground. That was a pretty cool place. It's a little bit out of the way, not too busy. It's fairly small. It's not really that many RV sites, but they do have resident alligators. Yeah, there was 3 of them that kind of hang around by the road, which you can easily see them. And the second morning, we did see an alligator kind of sunning himself by the side of the road.
And here's Ron. Back up, Ron. Back up, Ron.
So I went over to see him. Yeah, he didn't like that. He kind of chased me across the street. But anyway, it was a slow motion chase, so I was fine. Then he headed back into the pond. So, okay, good luck for him. Fortunately, he doesn't look like he was hungry. They don't allow swimming with the alligators like they do the manatees. Our next stop was back in Texas. Yeah, I'd heard that they have some free beach camping down south of Houston. So we went to Boulevard Beach, which was the closest one. So yeah, we headed down. Boulevard is kind of a long peninsula that runs along the Gulf of Mexico. So it was a Sunday afternoon. We pulled in onto the beach, and holy cow, there was people everywhere. You know, mostly kids riding in the back of pickup trucks, ATVs, all that kind of stuff. The wind was blowing like crazy. The sand was blowing around, and yeah, it was no fun. And this sand was kind of soft and loose, so I had to be careful in driving. So we drove along probably for like a mile down the beach, looking for a place to pull over. We did come to a sign and it said wash out ahead. So I stopped there and checked it out. Sure enough, there was a stream that was running into the Gulf. So yeah, there's no way I'm going to drive the RV through that. There was one RV that looked like it had been there for a while, sitting up next to the beach. So we decided to move on. We headed down to another, was like a vacant parking lot. There were only 3 different RVs in the parking lot. And I talked to one of the guys. He said, oh yeah, he's been there for a couple of months now and there's no problem at all. So we parked there. The only issue with that again was it was super windy. So even though there weren't a lot of people around, there was a lot of blowing sand. But anyway, we got some nice pictures of the pelicans and walked up and down the beach. We stayed there a couple of days. We headed out and started looking for a car wash because I wanted to wash off all that sand and salt and that kind of stuff out in the RV. So up in, I think it was Taylor, Texas, we did find a do-it-yourself car wash that accepted credit cards, so that worked out really good. Took us probably 10 minutes or so to get the whole thing washed, and it only cost $9. From there we made another quick family visit, and we headed west. We got to Deming, New Mexico 3 days later. Yeah, in Deming I'd like to stop at Wolf RV Park. It's a small private campground and it's out in kind of nowhere land, but it was a great place to do your laundry, take showers, dump the tanks, get the RV all ready to go. The weather forecast a couple of days in advance was for high gusty winds.
A lot of clouds out there today and it will be windy at times, but
and high temperatures in the desert.
Sunny, with a high near 97.
From Deming, which the temperatures are really nice there because it's like just over 4,000 foot elevation. So we drove all the way through the desert, through Arizona, California, all the way up into the mountains, and we stopped at the Acorn Casino, which is also at 4,000 feet. So we went from 97 degrees to, I think it was 60 something by the time we got up there at 9 o'clock at night. So yeah, I think that was the most I ever drove the RV. 580 miles in one day. But that was fine. Next morning we were home. The weeds really grew while we were gone. Look at that. How the heck am I going to mow that? So to recap our trip, the trip was 5,316 miles. We averaged 14.1 miles per gallon. 3 years ago we did the same trip. And that trip we averaged 15.2 miles per gallon. So yeah, that was before the recall and the adjustments that Mercedes made. So yeah, we definitely lost a little bit of miles per gallon on this. As far as the cost of the trip, we spent about $1,800 on diesel. So overall, the RV went fine. I just had a couple issues. One was the blinds over the kitchen sink. This bracket over here came off, so I had to put some glue in there and screw it back in. So far it's pretty good. I'm very happy with the lithium batteries. Next up, I'll have to decide, do I want to run the air conditioner from the batteries? I still need to figure that out. Anyway, in the meantime, this is Grandpa Ron signing off, and I'll see you on the next video.